Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First up, good news, and that's me. Let's see here. From the middle school, Kristen Schmidt. Our summer learning program has had wonderful student engagement. Attendance has been consistent, with students invested through hands-on projects and multiple field trips. We sincerely appreciate family support, teacher creativity, and collaboration as a team. From JK, Julie Wazalewski. I would like to compliment the cafe staff at JK and the entire nutritional services team. They have been diligently taking care of our families this summer by providing meals to them. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And there is plenty more good news to read, so please take a look at that online. Next up, public to be heard. I don't see anybody.
That's correct.
For that. Then we are off to, we have a public hearing to review the 2024-25 Batavia City School District Code of Conduct.
Yes, so the entire document is online, but I've shared with you the highlights, and the board will just take, it's a smaller packet. It has the correct 24-25 school year on there. We had this vetted by one of our attorneys at BCSD. He gave us some very good feedback, some very minor changes. I shared this with the admin team a couple weeks ago. So I'll just walk you through the changes. The changes there are in the blue font. This again is current. On page, it's marked page 13, but it's crossed out letter D. Recommending that we just include threatening or an attempting act of violence in addition to conduct that could be violent. That's part D. So we've added threatening or attempting. On the next page, towards the top, some numeric changes. We've added the word or in part 5 for verbal, physical, or sexual bullying. 6, we tighten up the definition of the word intimidation. He's recommending that we have some things removed, or some phrases removed, and add a phrase that puts another person in reasonable apprehension of imminent harm. And then number 11 on the same page, there's an updated section there as well regarding where the definitions can be found. Everything else will stay as is. On the next page, there's a good size of, there's a good addition there on the use of technology, which we're not going to allow in public restrooms and locker rooms. Any use of personal technology in school restrooms and locker rooms is strictly prohibited. We have a policy on that now at the high school and middle school. Anyway, this just tightens it up. That would replace letter I. So it includes what the offense is and what the consequences may be under cell phone use in public restrooms and locker rooms. On that page. The next page, part C, minimum periods of suspension. So we, on occasion, we have superintendent hearings in which the school is looking for a longer term suspension beyond 5 days. As superintendent, I have the right to modify the penalty, and we recommend that we include those items there in the blue font that I can take into account when modifying the penalty. So they have an opportunity to have a hearing that's education law, and the 1-year suspension can be modified based on some of these factors here, which have been added. And those are the changes. We made some substantial changes to the document 2 or 3 years ago. So these are relatively minor changes to make us current, and this is the process we engage in every year. So, any questions from the board or from the public? Okay, thank you.
No questions? We're all good? All right. Need a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Ms. Lenve, could I have a second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, next up, academic eligibility policy review. Mr. Reed, Mrs. West, and Dr. Crine. Take it away.
Thank you. we wanted to propose an academic eligibility policy. This would pertain to all extracurricular activities through 7 through 12. And we wanted to give a little background. So I just wanted to start, and we'll talk about the philosophy behind it. As we know, there was one before, and kids out of COVID, we wanted to make sure that we were meeting them where we were at and just re-engaging them to come back to the school building. So what we've noticed over time is that students definitely are, starting to get those academic skills back again, and they're starting to recommit back to the learning piece of school. And we also understand how important that sports are to have many kids to come and participate with us. So we know that that's a really important part of a student's educational program. What we're also seeing is that recently in the last few years, we've just had an attendance piece. So students have to be in school in order to participate. And so they're very, high school students are pretty clear on when they have to be there for the day, but they're not always doing everything that they need to do to monitor their academic piece or to get the supports that we put in place for them at the high school. So this policy is meant to, number one, this year to kind of reintroduce kids to this academic rigor piece to connect with the sports. It's also not meant to be a punishment type of policy, and as we go through it and my colleagues share more information with you, hopefully that you'll pull that piece from it as well. It's really just a structure to help support our kids and to give them what they need. So in terms of a philosophy, we just as a school, we really just want to make sure we exist for learning. And so we want to make sure that our students are taking away the important pieces of academic learning as well as those important pieces of athletic sportsmanship and things like that. So I'm going to turn it over and have you go through some of the other parts with my colleagues.
So really, this plan is a proactive plan to help students. And it will really foster collaboration between the students, parents, counselors, coaches, teachers, and administrators with a real focus on the academic learning and the importance of doing well in our classes and passing our classes. Students will have the ability to participate in while they're improving their grades. This puts the responsibility on the students for seeking out extra academic help and supports with the opportunities that we have that come with this policy. And students will have a tracking sheet to keep everyone informed on the progress that they are making as they are improving their grades and moving to passing grades. So a little bit of history. This is a reinstatement of a policy that was previously in place at the high school and the middle school before COVID. And during COVID, the academic and eligible policy, they were dropped since many of the extracurricular activities were stopped as well. And then after COVID, the focus was bringing the kids back into the buildings. And there were a lot of students that were struggling on their academics post-COVID and getting back into their routines. And we really think that reinstating this policy now is going to be beneficial to our students. And I'll pass it over to Joel and he can talk a little bit more.
Hi guys. So the next couple slides is really just a breakdown of what this would look like if you were in a position where you're a student athlete who has some grades in danger of failing or has multiple classes that already has failed. So it's kind of a way to support that. One thing that I want to make mention before I even go any further is we're very much aware, and this policy is very student athlete friendly, meaning helping the students get back on their feet so that they're successful in the classrooms as well. Anybody that's coached or has been coached knows that you're more successful when you're successful in the classroom as well. I mean, when you're able to pick up important concepts, especially as you elevate from level to level, being able to understand comprehensive playbooks or whatever else, that translates to the field as well. So we just want to see students be successful. We know that getting them to the next level is the overall goal. So if you take a look here, this is this is what a level 1 would look like, and this would mean that you're failing at least 2 classes. Throughout that, they would need to attend their 2 hours of study hall, which the study halls are staffed so that they could be asking questions. It's almost like a tutorial. They can get extra work done and bring them back up to speed. There are study halls available for after school and for school. Both middle school and high school have these available. High school has them in the morning and the afternoon. The students responsible for having that tracking sheet, which they show to the coaches, and they also bring to the attention of the principal, athletic director, making sure that they're on track during that time. And if a student then is no longer failing the 2 classes at the end of that first check-in, then they're off of probation. During that time, they can actually participate in all activities, that's practices and contests, if it's only 2 classes, okay? Next would be if they were a level 2 probation. This is 3 or more classes, and this is, I'll catch up with some of the other policies that I've seen and why I like this one specifically. If it's 3 or more classes, they still need to do those extra study halls. During that time, they can practice, but they're not participating in the games. That will change in a couple weeks. I'll explain that in a second. So students still responsible for that tracking sheet, showing that they are making progress, they're going to the study halls. And then if they demonstrate that they are no longer failing 3 or more classes, they're making progress towards passing, then they're back to that level 1. So they can participate in games, they can participate in practices, but they're still working through to make progress in order to be passing. The reason why, I'm gonna make a quick note, the reason why I said I kind of like this one a little bit better than some of the other policies that I've been able to work with in my other schools, is this is 3 or more classes. A lot of schools, especially in the area, they go by the pattern of if you're failing more than 3 classes, you're not participating at all. So it's almost like this allows our students to really work towards achieving their passing grades while still participating in sports. The next thing that I really want to make sure that I mention is while we were working through all of this, everybody's on the same page. We know that an academic eligibility policy is not going to be the sole reason why kids are successful and brings them back to passing. It's the supports that go with it. So this helps identify the students that need some extra help, right? And that's where those study halls come into place. And it helps the kids be able to understand exactly what they should be doing to be responsible and get back to doing well themselves. Overall goal is the students, the kids, and this policy really speaks to that. I think it's really academically friendly for both athletes and students as well.
And I would just like to piggyback on that. Really the goal of this is, we know that students can meet the expectations and we know that they can rise. And so we often see student athletes do a wonderful job. They prioritize, they make sure that they're meeting all the needs that they need to through athletics. And so what we want to do is we want to help them to understand how to transfer those skills to academics as well. So this again is not just to punish kids or to stop them from participating. In fact, there's nobody that I've talked to, coaches included, that's really the goal of this. The goal of this is to help kids to understand that they work together and that we really are in a school to learn, and academics are important as well. So I just wanted to make that caveat.
Does anybody have questions about that?
It's not a question, but if you could go back to the prior slide, Joel. So this is for all 3 of you. So what happens if they don't attend the extra hours, the extra help hours, 2 hours per week?
So that's that tracking sheet that we're talking
Right.
about. So in order to have that tracking sheet signed off and be able to participate, they have to attend those study halls. So if they don't,
They don't
then
practice.
it's not met the criteria
Right. Thank you.
to work and rehabilitate the grades.
And I just want to also clear up too, because Joel is new. So the study halls that he's speaking about, we call them extended day. They're staffed by teachers, and the teachers are aware of what the curriculum is. And the teachers communicate with all the other teachers because it's a support that we have as well for all students. Like we want to do credit recovery or need some extra help. So it's a tight structure. It's not like a loose structure where we're just asking kids to go into a room. We're really giving them the support that they need to meet the needs. Oh my goodness, I'm supposed to brand new watch, I don't want to turn on. And also, I was gonna say, if they're failing 3 or more, especially this year, especially as this policy is going through, the adults are not gonna let them down, right? We're gonna be on top of that too. There's counselors involved, there's, the principals involved, the APs are involved, the coaches are involved. So we are hoping, and Joel as well, to have that communication open. So again, at the end isn't to say, hey, it's on the kid, right? We wanna put it on the kid because we want the kids to develop those skills, but we understand we still have to wrap around them as a community as we're working through this, especially this year, because this is brand new to our students.
And that's why the collaboration is so important, that the kids see that they have a team of people around them that are supporting them. to be as successful as they can be. It's not on their own, pass or else. It's really that collaborative, multi-level, multifaceted approach to helping students be successful in their academics as well.
I feel, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Joe. No, it's fine, go ahead.
I feel like it's important to say too, and they've done a great job with bringing this back and really going over, making it fit. Before I came on, which has been 5 days, so. Before I came on, Jen and Megan actually approached the coaches and asked the coaches, how do you feel about this? Talk to us a little bit about what worked prior. Is there things that we should do to adapt this? And the coaches were all very much in favor of this. They understand that we're trying to get our kids to the next level. And I'm not talking about playing pros. I'm talking about just ready to school to transition, school to work, school to college, whatever it may be, so that they can be successful. And athletes, sports, that helps that. So I think that taking into concern the coaches' ideas as well, I think that was a nice piece. It was received well.
So one of the pieces I just want to mention, the bottom bullet on the front page, the principal discretion clause. One of the things that we talked about is to make sure, we all know students have things happen to them, that they under control. They have deaths in the family, they have accidents, so we always want to make sure that we have the discretion. I don't expect this to be used a lot, but in my experience, I have had to use it. If a child had an exceptional circumstance, something beyond their control, the principals do have some discretion to modify or adjust it, just for those rare circumstances. So,
I have a couple of questions. I'm wondering if time is being given to help the student athlete before they fail 2 or 3 classes.
Well,
We're recognizing the problem when they fail, when
Yep.
they actually have a failing grade on their report card.
so we recognize, so when the students, we have extended day all the time for all the students. So anytime that grades are coming out, the teachers are communicating to them that they have 3 weeks for their credit recovery to work it out. We tell them everybody what the supports are, and we call families often, especially the teachers, to try to encourage those students to come. Our hope about this, honestly, is that athletes value athletics. And so we're hoping that, they're still getting that proactive conversation, they're still getting all of the stuff that we give all the students, but we're hoping that this is gonna kind of help athletes to prioritize making sure that they're also meeting and it's not just athletes, I'm saying athletes, it's literally all extracurriculars.
And something we talked about is looking at students, we'd be putting in this policy right now, but also taking a look at who the students who struggled academically at the end of last year, so that we are hitting the ground running week 1, that we're helping them to stay above a failing point, where we're already meeting with them. And I know that the middle school, I know you had talked about it in the high school too, within the first 3 days, meeting with these kids to talk about a plan to keep them, instead of coming from a deficit point, to stay at passing and above. So again, being really proactive and just emphasizing the importance of having an academic focus as well.
Can I ask then, has this happened often during this past year, just say, where kids, athletes, or any extracurricular activity have had failing grades and they've been allowed to participate because perhaps they were important to the sport?
So
or
the
to
policy, this policy was not in
extracurricular
place last year, Barb, so the direct answer to your question is most likely yes. But we did have an attendance requirement that they had to be in school by a certain time. I got what it was offhand.
I feel like maybe 9.
Yeah,
I
so
can't
the goal is to
remember.
get them in school, but certainly we had students that, because this policy was not in place last year, I can't think exactly of anybody right now, but I'm just, from my experience, I'm sure we have had kids that were,
I guess I'm a little skeptical, maybe. Quarterbacks are really important, right? Quarterbacks who can really throw that football and get it to the end, they're really important, right? And I'm a little skeptical, are they going to want to put the time into the academics? Have they in the past? Now granted, this policy hasn't been in place, so they haven't been encouraged or required, but I guess I'm curious as to how it's all gonna play out when we take that quarterback and we don't let him
First
play.
off, keep in mind, this is all extracurricular, it's not sports only,
Yes.
as
Yes.
Jenny mentioned.
Yeah.
So I know football's usually the target.
did add that.
I know Coach Veltz kinda had it, football kinda always held his own accountability. But I think this gives the staff really that accountability to their students. As I did some tours through the middle school last year, one of the things I've heard from a few of the staff members is they flat out had kids tell them, well, it doesn't matter if I do this. So now it does. And that's whether you're in band, whether you're in the theater, music, or you're the quarterback on the football team. I think that gives our staff a little bit more of an extra tool on their tool belt to hold these students accountable. Because really it is, we're having the students track it. Students are accountable at that age. I think even at the middle school, they know right from wrong. They know they have to do the homework assignment. So now it makes them, again, whether it's a theater or a sport.
And again, recognizing this year is the first year, right? So we really want like that collaboration piece
So
and making sure we're not
Kind of a
hurting kids.
spin-off of what Barbara was asking, the being proactive of it. When, if a child is failing one class, are we contacting the parents, the guardians,
Yes.
and saying, hey,
Yes.
just so you know,
Yep.
this is what the next step is. You're not going to be able to participate in your theater or your musical or your sporting event.
And also the coaches are aware of this too. So as a list, our
Yeah, how's that communicated out to the staff, the coaches? How's that going to be
So
communicated
it's gonna be kind of a joint effort between counselors and then the athletic secretary. And so what we'll do is we'll have all the kids on the rosters, and Sue is getting that ready right now because of the kids she said some of the rosters weren't done. And then the counselors are monitoring kids' grades, and then the teachers are also doing that. So the communication will most likely come out of the counseling office, and we'll be monitoring it there as well, but the athletics and the counselors will be working together. And then I'm hoping that the coaches will also, right, so I'm kind of picturing this also as like marketing this year, right? So this message is gonna be coming strong right from freshman orientation tomorrow night, just so kids know that it's coming, right to every other time that we're in front of kids. So that and then we can, once this is adopted, we will certainly be communicating with families as well.
So with the combination of the athletic department, but also who's tracking what kids are signed up for theaters, bands, because this is all going in.
Yeah, so we have
Okay.
that already, because anybody who's running those things, those lists come to us
Okay.
as the principal. So, yeah, so we'll be monitoring all that. And once we are adapted, we can send out all of the processes and procedures to you after we tighten them up, so you guys have all of that in writing as well.
And I think it's another layer is that we need to really be folding the teachers into the loop, that we're not letting
Yeah.
a student get so far behind that they're in a dire situation. I think it actually helps teachers to be more proactive in helping monitor the kids, because it sounds like a lot of kids are involved in extracurricular activities, sports
Yeah.
and clubs and drama and arts. So this is another layer for teachers to be very proactive with kids when their grades are slipping. So it's almost, a live support for them, not here's a deficit that you have to crawl out of on your own. And that's something that we will be sharing and talking about with teachers, that this is an important aspect, that we are monitoring and supporting students all along the way.
And it
to
does
keep them
fit.
passing.
I'm sorry.
That's
I apologize. It does dovetail nicely with our PLC work, which I know you guys know a lot about, but that's like an academic instructional piece. And so our teachers are kind of refining their practices, and part of that is, really looking at their grades, really looking at the work that they're assigning, really making sure that it's valuable for kids. So I think that's another piece of it as well, right? We don't want kids to fail because they're not doing busy work. If we're saying that a kid isn't successful, we want to say that there's a skill deficit, that we want to help them to meet that need. And so as we're doing this all as a district, this kind of makes sense as well, because it's kind of sending that message, academics are important to everybody, and that we're all in the mix together for accountability.
But how does a student able to demonstrate that, let's say, that they're no longer failing 2 or 3 classes, to be able to be eligible to play a game or be in a band concert or whatever, with, let's say, with the football season being as short as it is?
Right.
It can't, is it a daily demonstration, or is it a weekly? Does that mean the teachers have to get their grades out more, you know,
So
quickly?
Yes, so this year we're asking the teachers anyways to be a little more timely with their grades. So we're asking them to have them in about every 2 weeks or so at least. If a student has a runaround sheet, they're gonna have to go to their teacher, and their teacher's gonna have to say what they need to do to demonstrate that they're passing. The message to teachers is not that they have to do every little single piece, right? Like, I don't want them to be held because they didn't do a do now, but they have other things. But if the teacher, if they're coming to extended day this year, they're trying, then as far as we're concerned, we've decided that that will be enough to make sure that they're putting in the effort. So
Okay.
that word fail right now probably does feel a little harsh. And I guess at this point, maybe that's not exactly where we're at. It's more as on your runaround sheet, did you show up? Did you try? Are you really working on that academic piece as well?
And I think we have to keep in mind that, you know, our kids capable and able. And some kids who maybe they have an IEP or they struggle academically, it's more about you are trying to be proactive, improving your grades, and that's where we can come in and say, you're doing all of the things that you know, are required to do and we're asking you to do, and not penalizing them. If they're putting in the efforts, it's just not translating into passing grades. I think that that's where the principal discretion comes in. We don't want to penalize kids if they're not capable or they're not able, and that some kids just truly struggle academically. But we want them to be working and being proactive and trying to access these supports that
And
we're
what
putting
is
in
your
place.
plan so that the parents know that this, one, is in place, and two, that they may have a student, well, that their students have to be academically eligible to be in any of the activities? How are the parents going to learn this?
So obviously, first the board has to say it's okay, and then we would put it out in all the different communications is the way we do. If it's adopted, we'll start right with freshman orientation tomorrow night. It'll go right in the folder. We'll address it a little bit. We'll talk about it at our grade level meetings. We'll talk about it with our faculty in terms of the parents. You know, we will make sure that if the kids are in a failing one class, right, like we will make sure that they're communicated and most likely out of the counselor's office, or I have a point person I'm thinking of, but I don't want to say that right now, but there will be a point person to do that. So as far as the parent communication, I look at it as any other piece and policy that we have, that we just have to make sure that we're continuing to keep that dialogue open, and if parents have questions, you know, I invite them to come in and we can work it through, and if they're feeling like their student has a particular situation, like, you know, Mr. Smith spoke about, then we will talk about it and see what we need to do.
So
I have
this,
a question.
oh, I'm sorry, just to finish answering that, there will also, it'll be represented in a student athlete handbook, so that it can be pulled down from online, that the students, or the students and parents can view it at home.
So you have the expectation that parents are going to read that?
Well, I'd like it
Well,
to.
we could share the bulleted
It's
thing as
something
well.
that, it's something that also gets shared at our parent meetings.
Yeah, so all the coaches meet with their teams prior to the start of the
Yep.
season. There's one happening tonight that I know of, so they meet the teams prior, so.
Yep.
The wording in here, students need to be at school by 9 a.m. on a day they are participating in sports and clubs, unless with a doctor's note. Is that specifically for the students on probation, or is that the whole entire, like?
So that actually was part of the policy that we had right now. So that idea that kids came to school by 9 a.m. that's been in place even since COVID, so we didn't lift that because that was what kids are used to right now, and we thought maybe leaving that particular piece in and not having it like they had to be here right away. So that actually that connects to any kid who's participating in anything at the end of the
With
day.
a doctor's note, though?
They come in by 11 is what the soccer team was told.
Yeah, that's why I'm questioning it, because I just don't, like, I mean, if my kid.
Fair.
Or whatever, like, I feel like a parent note would be,
Yeah.
a doctor's note by.
And we can
9
certainly
a.m.
adjust that. I'm just
I
gonna
don't
be
know,
really
just-
transparent. Joel wasn't hired yet, and we were working
Yeah, no,
on this.
just as a parent,
So
I
this
feel
is a
like
great
there's many
thing to bring
mornings
up.
that, you know, she
So
needs.
I believe, and I don't know the answer to this, but I believe that probably came down from guidelines from New York State, because New York State does say that in order to participate in athletic contests, you need to be there for a minimum of half the day. So that's probably where that came from.
So I don't think we were required doctor's notes last year, were we?
So that was just lifted from what we had from before, and we can strike that.
So I think part of Corinne's question, you know, mine, I think, you know, I thought she was going with that, is that it probably should be a separate section, so it doesn't look like it only applies to kids on probation.
Yeah,
okay.
So I think that we can fix that later on.
Yep.
I think that needs to be separated. I think
Okay.
that's the point that Corinne was trying to make. So that probably doesn't belong under the definition of.
That would be more in a
Probation.
student athlete section rather than.
So I think we can adjust that, and then as far as, I think we can go back to our practice, they need to be in school by 9 AM unless legally excused, and that can be
And we'll just-
provided.
that sounds
I was
great.
gonna say, we had the modified team already had theirs, and it was explained that if a student is just late, they have to be in school by 9 o'clock. If they have a doctor's note, they have to be in by 11 to be half a day of school, so they can participate in that activity.
So we'll make those,
We
if
can
this
make
is
those
approved, we'll make those adjustments prior to it being published. But Jonathan, waiting to get a question. I've heard him try a few times.
Just based off of Alexander's question about like the shorter seasons, so the eligibility period is what's broken out in the back here. So it almost looks like it's a weekly, or they'll be tracking a weekly, and if they get their grades up by the end of that week, then they're
Then
eligible.
they're good to go.
So
And if
for, I think like flag football is a short season, and,
Yep.
and even unfortunately football this year's
So that's that last bullet. So if they've demonstrated that they've made that progress towards passing, then, and they are under the 3, this is for level 2, of course.
Yeah.
And they're under the 3, then they are able to participate.
I think I like that. It gives those kids the guideline to go by and the deadline to shoot for. And I really like the fact that, I mean, you're making it available morning and evening. I think that's excellent. So, if a kid has to work a job, it doesn't take it away from him from coming in the morning. So I do appreciate you guys doing that. One thing I would love to see, and this is just district-wide, is with this extended day, I know you mentioned it, Jenny, it's not just available for needs, it's available to everybody. So I'd love to see this school year, if we can promote that as well for just the whole student body and make that available and push it so that the non-athletes, non-drama club, non-extracurricular kids know that this is available for them, and parents know that too.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are we doing with the sports? Everything already started. So say it comes to the end of the year and they're failing those 3 classes or whatever. What are we doing for them? Is it that goes into summer school or?
So we have supports all the way up until the end of the year. And, we kind of even amp them up a little bit at the end of the year. So we have our extended day, and then we actually had some teachers that work with kids during study halls and things like that during the day. And then in terms of the policy, we look at where the kids ended, and then over the summer, we offer summer school too. And then if they were able to be successful, that may change the level that they're at based on what they were not successful the year before. But this year was a little different because we haven't adapted it, but they would hit the ground running in September with those supports in place. So it would have been communicated, the families would know, they would know where they landed after they were able to recover some things in summer if they did or didn't, and they would know what the expectation was. Do they start extended day right away?
So would they have that sheet for the summer school and to give to the coach to practices and stuff already started?
Yeah, we could probably do that for sure for summer school, absolutely. Yeah.
So I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Off of what Ches was saying, so say, from what he was reading, where it's, say last year, had some student athletes or kids that are in chorus or band or drama club or whatever.
Band is not an
Oh, I'm just,
class,
I know,
not an
I know.
extracurricular though. You have to be there.
But it's not adopted yet, this policy. When it is adopted, or if it is adopted, are any of those kids from last year gonna have that support right now?
Yeah, they're all going to be told that this is the new policy, this is where they landed last year, these are the expectations, so they can make sure that they hit the ground running proactively this year, and then hopefully they'll just be doing a great job and be ready to go. Yeah, so that's part of what we're trying to do right now. We know where kids have landed, so it's just about making sure that this policy's in place and then putting people, to get to those kids, and then we'll communicate that right out the gate.
So all the students, I think from John, so if they were found at the end of last year, they're still eligible right up till September 13th based off of the schedule. So it doesn't come back on from last year, it's clean slate.
No, and especially
Clean
this
slate,
year.
this is where we're starting, this is
Yes.
where you go
Yes.
from.
It's all a fresh start right now, and that's, I think, the important
just wanted to hear
part,
that, that's all.
working with the counselors and the families, that we know, based off of last year's grades
wanted to hear.
and where students ended at the end of the year, we will already know those students that are potentially in jeopardy, so that we're being proactive from week 1, working with them, getting in, having supports, and trying to support them right out of the gate. even though they'll already be identified based off last year's grades, but it's not in play, yes, but it's that support of keeping kids at a higher level.
I
From
think
day
this is
one.
great. I think the faculty's been waiting to get this back, so I appreciate the time you guys put into putting this back
Yeah, I
together.
just want to recognize, there was a quick turnaround time. We started working on this in early July. Mike Davis, who was filling in at middle school prior to Megan's hiring, also participated. So when I was away on my vacation, I came back, was down, we had a couple of meetings prior to that. So I just want to thank them for the quick turnaround time. We'll make those adjustments pending, if the board approves it, we'll make those adjustments. The 9 AM piece, we'll get that polished up and I can get you the final copy pending your approval.
Real quick, band and chorus are graded.
Yes.
So this, they are not part of this policy, am I correct?
Not at all. You are
Thank
correct.
you very much.
I was gonna say that, but better hear from you.
Well, thank you, everybody. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time and your
Thank you very much, nice job.
Thanks, folks, very much.
Thanks.
All right.
Great night.
Thank you.
Any other questions or any concerns or anything? Okay, could I have a motion, please? Mr. Roll, could I have a second?
Second?
Ms. Benedict?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, fantastic. Next up, Superintendent's report, Mr. Smith.
So thank you. I want to, of course, welcome back our staff and students next week. We had new teacher orientation began this morning, which I was excited about. We have about 28 new teachers joining our staff. The entire staff will arrive back next Tuesday. The board, of course, has been invited to attend the opening ceremonies in the auditorium. We'll have some student speakers. I'll give a presentation. We'll meet all our new staff, recognize our 25-year staff members. And first day for students, of course, is a week from Thursday. We do have freshman orientation back since we had 2 days prior to the students coming on Wednesday, September 4th. And arrival and dismissal time is always a popular topic here. Those are on the website, and that's the principals that get those sent out to the schools again this week, but they have not changed from last year. You heard Jenny mention this. Last week, it was a really great week. I was in Rochester for 3 days with great teams from all of our schools, principals, admins, and teachers. We attended a 3-day conference on professional learning communities, and I think the team and I, Molly can speak to this as well, we really felt recharged about this process. Again, the 4 guiding questions in this process, you hear me talk about next Tuesday as well, extensively with the staff. What we want all the students to know and be able to do, how will we know if they learn it, how will we respond when they don't, and how will we extend learning on this for students who are already proficient. This is our 2nd year of this project. It's an ongoing process. And Molly was with me at the conference last week. Would you have a spot or anything you want to add from the conference?
Just hearing from practitioners and seeing so many from New York State involved with the same initiative is just really powerful. I could hear from, people in the classroom still to experts who've really done this work for a long time. And it was just inspiring for every school.
And I saw a lot of excitement on our staff's faces from all the schools. So it was really a great conference. And I just want to thank Molly and our teams for organizing that. So you'll hear more about that next week. I mentioned new teacher orientation. Student athletes began this week. Football began last week, but all of our athletes are back this week. And just a little fun little thing. This is not a scientific poll by any means. I don't think, with all due respect to the Daily News, I just want to recognize in Saturday's paper they had the best of the best in the Genesee, Livingston, Portland, Wyoming region. Of course, there's the best vet, the best coffee place, the best restaurant. I was pretty excited to see, again, this is not scientific, so take it for what it's worth. The best principals in first place was Mr. Kessler. Second place was Jenny West, and best teacher was Jen Sloan. So again, it's not scientific. It was kind of fun to see. But the best postal carrier, best vet. So congratulations to Paul, Jenny, and Jen for having that recognition. Again, not a Gallup poll by any means, but just something fun to kind of talk about. So that's all I have.
Okay. All right, next we have consent grouping. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Motion to approve the grouping of consensus items. Before I get a motion, I will be abstaining from the personnel appointments. I'll vote on the other stuff, but I will abstain from that. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ms. Lindberg, could I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Anderson?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just as an aside, if I could stop, one of our new teachers was just approved, Howard Ballman is approved as a middle school English teacher. So welcome to Howard, he was at new teacher orientation today. Just a small little story, how we can appreciate it. When I got my first superintendency job in Lindenville in 2011, Howard was working for the Journal Register, the Diamond newspaper, no longer in business, and Howard interviewed me when he was his reporter. So he has good real-world experience.
Yep.
He's in English and speaking and writing skills as a reporter. So I'm excited to have Howard here, and welcome, Howard.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Old reporter, and I had to witness everything for myself to make sure everything was real.
All right, let's see. All right, now we're on to old business. Resolution for the non-paid coaching candidates to be reimbursed course expenses and initial fingerprinting fees over a 2-year period for obtaining their professional coaching certification. There is an attachment.
So as a simple change, we're giving coaches a 2-year period. The document you approved last month was last time was for 3. We had agreed with the staff and I to do 2, so it's a minor change, but it's an important change. That we go from 3 to 2. That's what we had talked about initially.
Okay, any questions? Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ms. Lindberg, could I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Anderson?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Approve the BCSD Code of Conduct as presented for 2024-2025. Any questions? Can I have a motion? Ms. Anderson, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Benedict?
All in favor? Any opposed? I am going to remove John Regal as not present at vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 2, approve NISBA delegate for the 2024 annual business meeting, October 10th, 2024. Barbara Bowman, BCSD board member. Any questions? Could I have a motion? Mr. Roll, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Ledbetter?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Approval of an impartial hearing officer appointment and resolution. Any questions? Could I have a motion? Ms. Benedict?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Ledbetter?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. At this time, are there any comments or anything any board members want to bring up or talk about? Or?
I'm not a board member, of course, but I did have one thing I just want to make sure. Our offices are working on sending all of you invites to our events, so the inbox may be exploding for a while, thanks to Brittany and her efficiency.
It's only Jackson so far, get ready.
Seriously?
That's just
Oh,
Jackson.
man, I opened it, I was worried.
So it was a good suggestion that I had gathered last week from one of you, from one of our individual meetings. So those invites are coming out. Feel free to come as many or as none or as little as you like, but we'd love to see what those events, each school. We did a secretary a couple weeks to kind of get events. You already had Jackson's apparently.
Yep.
So the other ones should be coming, things like pep assemblies, concerts.
Do we respond to that, or do we
No.
not show up?
You don't have to.
Just
You
show
don't
up,
just show
and
up.
if you don't, it's okay too. Or if there's one, like I put something on there and you're like, some we don't have specific times, you have questions, just call me on that day or day before and
We have,
say, hey,
you
what
know, we
about
have
this?
several Halloween events at the
Fine.
schools that are always fun to go to. We have holiday events, so the schools are working on those for you as we speak. So your inboxes are going to get very busy very soon, so
Yeah.
and your calendar. So I'm sorry to take away your board member comments, but go ahead, John.
My phone was blowing up today. Thank you. Anything else? We all good? All right. Gonna have a call for executive session. The board will not return to public session. Call for executive session. Need a motion to move to executive session to discuss matters relating to the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Could I have a motion, please? Mr. Rowe, could I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Lamb.
All in favor?
Aye.